So, hi guys, welcome to Tan La. And my name is Henry YY Tan, and right now I'm in Beijing. So, we are very welcome our guest and also one of my friend today. And before we start, a little bit of Tan La. Tan is actually in our local slang Malaysia. Tan is wait, so we are waiting for something good. And also Tan in Chinese means to talk. We are talking a pause for daily grind and also talk about the vibrant life people that lead outside of their work and study. So Max, before we go, can you briefly introduce yourself that a way that you didn't put in your resume?
Yeah. Hi, Henry. First of all, good to have you here.
Yeah.
We're sitting in my research group, the BP Center of Clean Energy here at Tsinghua University. And I'm at the very end of my PhD journey, about to submit my thesis this month.
Yeah.
But to introduce myself in the way that I didn't, we're talking about some crazy endurance stuff today, but outside of that and outside of my research, I do really enjoy playing chess.
Wow.
And that's something probably I haven't mentioned before, but it's been a passion of mine for the last more than 10 years. Playing a lot. I played also over the board tournaments, and it's just my way to relax. And I mean, it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I think it's a way for me to relax my mind, to just focus on a game of chess.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I know, yeah.
Okay, nice. But I know because you're studying basically engineering, PhD in power engineering and thermal physics.
Yeah.
If I'm not wrong. So actually, it is a very hardcore subject. So before we go on to what do you do, as researchers, it is so easy to get trapped in academia bubble, especially lab papers. So was getting into ultra endurance sport and long distance cycling your way of breaking out actually experience the world firsthand?
Yeah, I think it's very simple for me. As you said, a PhD is an intense period, and the pressure for some is quite high in terms of having also academic output, writing papers, publishing, the whole deal. I think gets a bit to some people. I think I've been dealing with it quite well because I was always seeking a balance in life with not just work and research, but also like physical exercise, which I think is my way of keeping that balance, of hard mental work and at the same time then the physical work from sports. And I mean, as obvious as it is, I think also another part of that balance would be family and friends.
I think that is very important. I think we just have our drink last today.
Yes.
But we catch up with some of my friends, your girlfriends.
Yeah.
And I would say, so your engineering complex power system for a PhD is definitely a very challenging thing. So how much of the engineering mindset goes into planning, especially for some of the massive expedition, from optimizing your gear to your planning on your roads?
That's a good question. First of all, maybe you could also bring up that we actually met during COP29 in Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
So my research is also climate related, and I'm more focused on energy system optimizations. And in that, my field is on hydrogen energy. And it's basically an energy carrier of the future that can be used to deeply decarbonize hard to abate sectors. So parts of the energy system that are not easy to electrify. And that requires, some let's say planning, if you will, in terms of how to structure your days to be productive, to write a paper. And how much actually that comes into mind when I do my, let's say, bike expeditions or like longer trips. I don't really know. I think there are like two ways of seeing it. I'm maybe a more organized person here in the research group than actually for the bike trips. I think for that it just before you start, it really just sounds like a crazy idea because I haven't done this before, and you don't really know what you're signing up for, and you don't really know how you're going to feel after the first day. And so I would say for this, there was very little planning, but at the same time, you just got to trust yourself that you can do it. And I think it turns out to be like easier than maybe beforehand you think it is, and therefore there was really not a lot of planning going on. I mean, I could just briefly tell you how we really started. Me and a good friend, we started from campus here. We packed our stuff with very minimal luggage and maybe something like 8 kg per person. And then we just ride the bicycle all day and make it to the next city, which, I mean, from Beijing, it's Tianjin. And on the way, we decided kind of which hotel we pick. And it's not, because we were not sure how far we could get. We've never done this before. And so along the way, we were realizing, okay, the day is going great. It was summer, good weather, and we could make it the first day trip, which was around 150 kilometers to Tianjin. And but we left ourselves some room to or some flexibility rather, to also, let's say, stay at a place or hotel before. But therefore, most of the times we just decided it along the way.
All right, this is so different than your research, but I like this, I like this difference. And for your information, before I know Max, kind of inspired by him of this cycling. And last year I took a hike in one of the highest mountains in Southeast Asia, which is in the East Malaysia of Mount Kinabalu. And before we go deep, actually I want to explain the skill, because I don't think you guys understand how random that Max do a ride. So basically, from the first East Coast expedition, basically from this Beijing campus to Qingdao, I was explain the skill. So it's around 800 km, because to put this a ride is 650 km in perspective. It's like in Malaysia, from Klang all the way from Mida to the north all the way to Thai border. If you drive, it takes up to 5 hours even you drive. So on a plane, even it takes on 45 minutes of cruising. And how crazy on a bike, it takes about, I think, maybe 32 hours or maybe 5 to 7 days around that range. So can you explain about, you just explained how random that you choose because of your energy of a day, where do you stay? Maybe can you explain when you are exposed to this element for a week, how do you see the weather and the fatigue, what goes through your mind? Because you never know when you're going to achieve. And how do you keep moving forward toward that coastal finish line with your friend?
I think it's the rough thoughts we had before we started the trip was literally like I said, we haven't done this before, but we kind of knew we could go 20 to 25 kilometers per hour with a bicycle quite easy. And then if you do the math, and I mean, let's say if we were riding around 150 kilometers a day, we just got to spend 6-8 hours on the bike each day, and then we will arrive wherever we want to arrive. And that's literally all kind of the thoughts we had beforehand. And then just tried it out. The first day worked well, and then just continued from there day by day. And the overall distance, so how did we come up with going from Beijing to Qingdao, which is, it took us 5 days essentially. And it was 800 kilometer total ride. The limitation for us was rather the time we have. We said we're going to do a week, and we want to also spend some time in Qingdao afterwards, for example. And that's really how it all came together. Because the first idea, I remember my friend was asking me to join him for a ride to Shanghai. And that's twice the distance. And
that's quite close.
And, I was kind of pedaling back a bit. Let's go to Qingdao. It's also a fun, good town, and famous for the Qingdao beer as well. And as a German, that was a strong motivation for me to reach the city there.
That's a very good motive. So I would say, other than this ride, actually after this, I think Max took a similar road, which is because Beijing, Max was here since your master, right? I think around 5 years. So it's kind of familiarized with the geographics here.
Yeah.
But then, conquering the past, you travel bicycle from Xi'an to Chongqing.
Yes.
And then riding from Xi'an to Chongqing, because maybe the distance is similar, maybe around 900 km
Yeah.
from North and South China. But you didn't follow the fast road because from Xi'an to Chongqing means crossing the Qinling Mountains.
Yes.
And also the tackle, and what is it like tackle those massive elevation gains on a loaded bike, maybe like 8 kg as you mentioned,
Yeah.
the same one? Is it more of a physical battle or like a mental one, or both?
Yeah, so the second trip was very different from the first. I mean, Beijing to Qingdao, the first trip was literally just 800 kilometers on a flat road, and it's much easier to cycle when it's flat. And I think it was good also to start with this trip, and still you're always gonna meet challenges along the way. I mean, I remember there were I had 5 flat tires, and you always got to stop and fix it. Or then, I mean, I was literally running out of equipment to fix my bike, and then meeting people along the way that were super willing to help me. Literally, there was one time I just gave my whole tire to someone. He took it in his car, drove to the next bike shop, came back with a fixed tire, and that's kind of how he helped me to finish, let's say, the day trip then, right?
I mean, the people there is nice.
Of course, and that's why also, I mean, all those beautiful memories that you make along the way, let's say, when you leave the big cities behind, and I'm an international in China, where it's easy to kind of stay in your academic but also big city bubble, and all the in-between, like the rural parts were really something I will always remember. But you asked about the second trip to like Xi'an to Chongqing, and as you said, the mountains are in the way, and that's a big challenge in itself. And you're not just going to be as fast as you are on the flat roads. And there we actually did also, it was in October, but I mean from the first trip we were kind of motivated to do something different, and it was October. The weather was not as easy. We actually hit some like storms and cold weather, rain, and I do remember the most challenging part was basically we were going up during heavy rain a mountain for like 3 hours, and we're soaking wet. And at the top of the mountain, you start the decline, and going down on the bicycle with the wind actually makes you chill like immediately. And we were just freezing, and it was getting tough. But on the other hand, you literally, I felt like I never had any doubt in my mind, because there's hardly an alternative. I mean, let's say if we really would hit a barrier, and we could probably figure out a way to get there with a car or taxi or something. We didn't, and I think this was not even an option I was really considering.
You never considered this?
So not having any like doubt in your mind, and just like, well, the goal for today is reach the next city to sleep in, really kind of made it easier, if you will, to not just constantly think about what could go wrong, and just just doing it.
Well, I mean, the mentality is so strong that you for sure you're going for cycling no matter how hard, how tackle it. Because in China it's very convenient. You can choose multiple transport to achieve a city.
Yes.
But I would say you made it. You have this challenge. So speaking about mountain, so last year, right, it was my first time in Beijing, and that time I was wearing a winter jacket. And
I remember that.
I think like a wind jacket, just small jacket, and I told you that I want to go to the Great Wall of China, Changchun, and the time it was like, no, you shouldn't wear this because it's very cold in the mountain. And I think you borrowed me your puffer and also your glove, and then I achieved the Great Wall last year. But there's a small thing that I remember from you, that you and your friend hung over in Great Wall, which is maybe illegally, but speak about how was the experience, like a night in Great Wall.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite like overnight stays, like at the rural part of the Great Wall, because I mean we're close to Beijing, and you can go to Badaling, for example, which is a very famous part of the Great Wall, which is always crowded, and there are thousands of tourists.
Thank you so much for your experience about the Great Wall. And actually I repeated a lot of time. So after this, that day I remember that I met you in 2024, you have a journey for this whole ride, like two big place, and then after the journey, you told me that you want to go for marathon. I think that time that we were in Beijing, and you want to go for a full marathon in Seoul, Korea, and it's not just you, it's with your partner Rosie, your girlfriend. And after marathon, and I text you in, I think after April, around May, and told me, oh yeah, Henry, I just done my marathon, it was nice, and I'm going to a triathlon with my girlfriend as well in Xiamen, China. And speaking about all these adventures, how was your experience with Rosie and also with your partner during these two?
Yeah, I think I got a bit addicted to the endurance sports. In 24 was the two big bike rides across China with some friends, and then in 25 the marathon with Rosie and the triathlon also with Rosie, which I mean, I have all the respect in the world for her because she was following through with this with me. And yeah, I've been doing some endurance stuff for myself for quite some time, but for her it was a bit of a new world, and I mean, she pushed as hard as I can imagine, and yeah, achieved quite a lot. For me, it was also a lot of fun to have a partner doing this together with in training, at the competition also. And also one quick thing I would like to mention is that I mean, it really bonds anything you do, the cycling with the friends, but also the competitions, let's say with Rosie, it really bonds your relationship to whatever person you have, as well as I think that they're two completely different stories. The biking is different from, let's say, like a marathon competition, because the distance is something I never worry about, but the pace is something quite difficult. And therefore, let's say for the marathon, I did prepare hard. So I was working on this for like 3 months to actually show up ready.
Yeah, so nice. And maybe a little bit of your experience, because you were trained so well back then, but how about your girlfriend? I think she have like less experience.
Less experience, but she was I mean, extremely good as well in what she did. So I think she's more like a natural talent than me.
Wow.
In terms of I'm a pretty big guy. I mean, running is quite hard on my body and joints and everything. But for her, sometimes I felt like she's just floating and making it look easy. But yeah, it's quite impressive. I think it's something also anyone can achieve if you put your mind to it. That I mean, it's just about, you know, going out there, putting your running shoes on and getting the miles in, if you will. And then I think also you, by the end of the day, by the end of the year, I'm quite optimistic that you will get ready to try it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, after all of this experience from cycling, and also from what you're doing, adventures, marathon and triathlon, and I'm also kind of like inspired, and also I believe of attraction, you attract the good people. So I would say just do it, try and error, and life goes on. It doesn't need to be I think you can mention later which is like one dimension. And maybe for someone who's listening right now who feels completely defined by their degree or their study or their job title, what is your biggest piece of advice for finding their own adventure and also exploring life outside of their daily grind?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not just really a tough one to, I mean, anyone is aware of that. If you have a one-dimensional life in terms of everything you define yourself as your career, I think you're missing out on a few things in life. And I mean, it's family, friends, but also yourself. And for me, taking care of myself also means, you know, doing sports, doing something I like and have fun with. And yeah, it's just about going out there, trying it, and following your passion, which doesn't need to be sports, obviously. It could be anything else, but making some time for that. So for yourself also is important.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's all for us. And thank you, Max, for sharing our incredible story, especially all the challenge and all the little moment from your experience.
Yeah.
And I believe this make us outside of healthier and become more happier in life.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here in Tanla, and where we talk about everything outside of work and life. And we are in Beijing and your research center in Tsinghua Corner. and also it is a great reminder that there is whole world out there that are waiting to be discovered. So this can be end of the episode 5 of Tanla. We don't know when next. Catch you in the next one.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you so much, Max.
Thank you for having me, and
No
you
problem.
said it best.
Yeah.
My message is spreading happiness and health.